morning, and thank you for joining me this morning on a Saturday. I hope you're having a wonderful start to the weekend, and I know I am. I'm here with my family, so thank you so much. This program, Reach for the Stars. I thought about this a few weeks ago, and I thought, wow, what's happening in my own life is about reaching for the next level of goals. It's interesting how individuals like us, we're never satisfied with where we are, and that's a good thing. We continue to be more creative. We continue to experience more creativity and more inspiration to move to the next level. So this particular program will not only help you establish your next level of goals, but it'll also set you up for always striving for something greater than what you can imagine right now. And that is really what our mastery is all about. This is what our growth is about. All right. So let us begin this process by introducing the topic here right now. So today's topic is reach for the stars, setting worthy goals, wants, and desires. And many of us set these goals. But what I'd like to do is kind of explore to uncover what are your wants, goals, and desires right now. What is your deepest desire for life? So the way I want you to kind of think about this, and you can type it in and share with me if you want. Of course, that's optional for you. You can send it to me in a private message, all of those things. But the first thing that you want to consider is, in the past, what outcomes in your life up until right now, today, that you are most proud of achieving? What outcomes in your life that helped you get to where you are today? And then the second thing I want you to consider and think about is, what outcomes in life up until today are you least fond of? Something that happens that you say, this is not what I want. Okay. And then what is your deepest desire in life right now? So I want you to take a minute or so, ponder on these questions. And if you have a journal or a piece of paper, I'd like you to write down these things, because we're going to revisit this, and this will make part of our exploration that much richer. And we're also going to debrief here. So if you have any comments or questions, or if you want to help others on this call or on the recording in the future to actually get more insight into what you're thinking, so that they may be able to reach for that goal, which they may not have thought about. So please type it in if you want. If you don't want, that's okay too. Write it down in a journal, because this is the process. So I'm going to give you about a minute to write this down, okay? Have you gotten a good start to this? And don't worry if you can't think of anything, because the whole idea about this particular journey is to recognize if you've got clear goals and if you don't. So if you have clear goals, you are on your way. If you don't have clear goals, this program will help you refine them and identify them. And the reason we do this is because if you don't have clear vision in your head about what you want to achieve, how is the universe going to present you what your desires? Because you have not clarified your desires for yourself. I have to admit, 2 or 3 days ago, this is very recent, ever since I've been on this particular path of journey and trying to clarify my goals, I asked myself, okay, what is it that I want to do? And all the goals that I had established for me in the past came forward. And I said, really it doesn't give me a lot of inspiration right now because I've achieved it. More on that, maybe in a couple of slides. So what is it that I really want? And then I had a bit of fear creep in me. And the reason I had fear creep in me is I had so many options, so many choices. And then all of a sudden, my limiting beliefs dredged up. This is not we're not going to talk about limiting beliefs to an extent. That's for another advanced webinar. But the limiting beliefs that came up and saying, I need to choose something that's perfect. I know we all have that kind of part of us says we need to be perfect. We can't make a wrong choice. But the other part of me has realized that all I need to do is pick one, move in that direction, and the rest of inspiration will pick up, and I can kind of navigate my way through that. I may be able to pivot to one that really calls to me, because what I want to discover in life, I don't know what's out there. I don't know what will be better than what I saw in the past. And what I don't want is I don't want to continue on in the past. I want to always be inspired to achieve something better than what I've had in the past. That is what inspires me. And I'm assuming that that's what inspires other human beings, because that's really my understanding of what helps us heal from within, is to always have that sense of inspiration and draw and anticipation of something that's just we get so excited about. All right. So in this particular opening, I just wanted to for you to get a sense of how much of your visualization of your goal setting has been established and ingrained in you. Because if you've got a clear understanding of what you're proud of and you want to achieve more of that in life, then that's great, because you're now ready for the next level of imagination. If you don't have a goal established, then let's establish something in this practice. All right. I'm happy to take any questions if anybody has that. Either, if you're watching live, you can type it in. If you're watching it on a replay, put it in the questions area, and I'll be happy to respond that way. Now that you've talked about this is the goal that I want. This is my desire now, my desire, whether it's new desire or whether it's something that you've been sitting with and it's always been a desire. If you've been sitting with it and it's always been a desire, then what stands in your way? Okay. If it's something that you haven't developed a goal and you're just trying to formulate it, well, what stands in your way of formulating that goal? So I'll give you another minute to contemplate on this and think about this and write it down and share if you want to share. Okay, so another minute to do this. Okay. If you've had time to think about what stands in your way of achieving your goals, then you can share with me, or you can continue on and keep it in your journal because it's going to be important. If it's anything like me or the clients that I serve, I hear this often. Okay, and that was me as well. I don't have enough money to open up a healing center, for example. I don't have enough money to go and explore and to this particular part of the world that I really want to experience. You know what? My daughter is young. I can't travel, or my parents are ailing, and I need to stick around town. And so then, if this is really a situation, there is no excuse. There's no excuse for not taking the first small step towards this. And we're going to talk about the steps towards this particular vision, because there will be a time when opportunity will come up and everything will line up for you. Now, you have to consider, and I'll pose this question to you. Do you feel that you need to wait for an opportunity? Or do you feel that you can actually create that opportunity energetically and then everything will line up? My belief is that the latter. My belief is that the opportunity is not something that somebody outside of you creates. It's something that you energetically bring to you, because you have no idea. If you're saying, I don't have enough money to do this, you have no idea who you're going to meet, where the money is going to come from, or where the resources are going to come from, or where somebody will say, I have a lot of money, but I just need somebody with a vision to create the healing center. Maybe that'll be the match. But you can only do that when your vibration and your imagination and your depth of emotions are actually aligned in that area, which means that you have a clear vision of your goals and desires and wants. Once you have that, your job is to just vibrate that, and then everything else will line up. Okay. So some things to think about on that. So let's talk about what is this program about today? What are we expecting out of this program? So the first thing we want to do is talk about setting worthy goals, wants, and desires. I will challenge you that any goal that you set, and that was for me too, and that is still for me, is not up to par with your with your magnificence, with your inner potential. Because we always set our sights on our goals that we think that we can achieve, because we're afraid of taking that risk, that leap, that bound. Okay. So the first thing we want to talk about is how to set worthy goals, wants, and desires. The second thing is, how do you magnetize it? I talked about how to create that vibration so that the opportunity comes to you from the vibration you create, and not waiting for the opportunity to come up and then meet it. That if you're lucky enough that happens, great. But I don't believe in lucky enough for that happens. Your vibration will make that happen every time, or your vibration will push it away every time. And we can talk about that today. After we kind of create the energy field, then we can access the field of possibilities. You can think of a goal or a desire and saying, this is what I want, this is my desire, and I really want this. You can create an energy field around it and say, okay, I really can feel this, and we're going to practice some of that. And the third thing that you can do is actually see how you can access the field of potentials, because there's an infinite amount of potentials out there that you can tap into. So how do you collapse all of the different potentials into the one that will create a path for you to achieve whatever your desires are? Okay. Now I want to invite you to then chart your path forward. And this is where I go back to say, it doesn't matter what your excuses were before. You may have legitimate excuses that prevent you from achieving your grand goal right now. But there is no excuse for you not taking the steps towards that grand goal, such that an opportunity presents itself and you're ready to strike the match. Okay. So you can always imagine and experience the future without leaving your home, without having to go anywhere, without spending any more money. That is, you were born with that. So I invite you to consider that, and we'll talk a bit more about how to then chart your path to that desire or that goal. Any questions? Let me know. So what does it mean when I say worthy goal or desire or want? Well, what does it really mean? Like, what does it mean that, how do you know you've achieved that? How do you know you're actually striving for that? Well, a worthy goal, desire, or want, once it's achieved, once you've realized it, will make you feel the following ways. It'll make you feel like this is who I was born to be. I was asked by a very good friend of mine. She's a mindfulness coach as well. And she said to me, Shamir, you left your Fortune 5, you left being an executive of a Fortune 500 company. You were making, a lot of money there. I said, yeah, I was. Now you're not making as much money, but you're happier. I said, yep, absolutely. And I wouldn't trade it for anything. Then she says to me, if you were not doing what you're doing now, if you weren't doing that, what would you be doing? And I didn't even skip a beat on that one. I just responded immediately that, well, then I would have no reason to live. And as soon as I said that, I realized I said that, and I started tearing up, realizing that this is my path. This is what I want to do. And then most recently, up until end of last year, I began to strive for something greater, something grander. Because like I said, you will never stop striving for reaching for the stars, because it's an unlimited field of potentials out there. So if you can say to yourself, this is who I was born to be. If you can say to yourself, this is what I was born to do. If you can say to yourself, I'm so inspired. I'm inspired that I want to take it to the next level. You're never going to lock into a place. You say, I'm so inspired. I want to take it to the next level. Because otherwise you get bored, and then you become despondent, and then you become depressed. So anything less, if you can feel and in every cell in your body that anything less than what I'm doing now is out of alignment with my deepest expression of life. When you come to those realizations, when you experience those realizations, when you just say, yeah, I was meant to do this. And if you had an epiphany like I did, you're on the right path. It doesn't stop there, of course, but you're on the right path. So do you have that feeling now? If you have, then are you inspired to take it to the next level? If you don't have that feeling now, are you inspired to take it to at least that level where you can say these things until the next level presents itself? That's something that we want to consider, okay? So how do we usually come up with our wants, goals, and desires? Now, and this goes back a little bit to what I said earlier about limiting beliefs. Although we're not going to dive deep into limiting beliefs in this particular program, which is subject of a future one, of course. But how do we usually set that? How, as growing up as a child, what was my inspiration for setting a particular goal? Okay, and the first thing is we have a role model. We want to be like. We know somebody who's a millionaire. We know somebody who's a celebrated hero. We know somebody. For me, it's like, oh wow, I want to act like this person. Because acting is my hobby, and I just love. Oh, and I want to sing like Andrea Bocelli, because for some reason I'm not as accomplished singer right now, and that's something that's one of my big goals. Because I don't have I haven't been trained to sing from my young age, but anytime there's an audition for a musical, I'm always drawn to going there. And I've been in some musicals, and I've had to hire vocal coaches, but I love it. So that has been my role model, like Andrea Bocelli or people like Elvis Presley and some wonderful singers like that. We have a role model, and we see them and we say, we want to be like that. My last role model that really helped me achieve my goal was Lee Carroll in Cryon, of Cryon fame. I mean, when I saw him on stage, I said, I want to do what he's doing. I want to be like that. I want to be on stage with him. And I really put together a vibration, a magnetization, and a series of creating the field, and then attracting that to me. And that's what happened. That's exactly what happened. So now I know how I got there. Now I can share with you whatever your desires are. You are born to achieve them. We just have to know what the steps are. And in this program, you'll get started on that. So we usually have a role model, so we want to be like them. Doesn't necessarily mean that that's what we really want when we get there. When we get there, we say, you know what? Yeah, I don't need it. I don't really like this. Likely that you really wanted to do that, you achieved it, but you don't like it because you're ready for the next level. Okay. This is a big one. This is what most of us have been influenced with. Parents, influential people in our lives have convinced us to strive for certain wants, goals, and desires. You must get married, you must have kids, you must have a house with a picket fence. Shamir, you must, for me, it was like a work for a big organization, a big corporation, and move up the ladder. So I was always striving to get promoted, always striving to get promoted. And I would work hard, work hard. Work-life balance would be out the door. I would focus on this. My whole life would be doing that. And eventually I reached a level of a vice president. And then I realized, my boss, who was a president, actually was the executive vice president. He says, don't you want to be in my shoes? And I said, absolutely not. I don't want to be in your shoes. As a matter of fact, about a year or so later, I tendered my resignation because it just wasn't for me. And not because that was a wrong goal for me. It was a perfect goal for me initially, but it wasn't the right goal for me when I got there, because I was always looking for something better and bigger. You get to a point where you no longer are in survival mode. And I was no longer hurting for money. When you become a manager, a director, all of a sudden you've got more money coming in than you can spend, especially for a Fortune 500 company. So I was never struggling for survival. I need to have money. I need to have money. I need to have money. As a matter of fact, I worked so hard, I didn't have time to spend my money. I didn't have time to go on vacation. And if I did, it would just be stressful because I had all this work piled up when I came back. So in pursuing this idea, I never had a chance to enjoy life. So I realized very quickly that you get to a point where money is coming in left, right, and center, but it's not the right thing for you. You when you move out of survival mode, you move into this area of, all right, what do I want to achieve that's really going to fulfill my heart? And you always go into the place of service. I want to share with you that today, I want you to, when you think about your goals, wants, and desires, ask yourself, how much of that was influenced by somebody telling me this is what I should do? Somebody could have told you, you need to open up a healing center. That's a great thing. And that's what has been driving you. But when you peel that back and ask yourself, what is it that I really want? It may not be that. It may be that. It may be a different version of that, but it may not be that. Okay. So today, ask yourself, how much of what you're doing is really based on your parents' influence or some influential adult in your life? I know that I worked with somebody when I was first starting out in my career. He went to medical school. I think he had completed 1 or 2 years of medical school. And he asked himself one day, and this is a story he's telling me, he says to himself, what am I doing here? I don't want to do this. And he went there because his parents convinced him that he needed to go and get medical school, did not allow him a choice to pick whatever he wanted. And he became a technologist. That's what he wanted to do, became a technologist. And he just loved it. I mean, he went on and did something else after that. But, parents say, become a doctor, lawyer, engineer, whatever you want to do. And then you do that because you're forced into that, and then you hate it. So my invitation is for you to figure out whether your wants, goals, and desires are something that are yours, or somebody who has given you that cloak that you wear and say, this is what I want. The third one, and this is an important one, we naturally gravitate to certain activities that provide us joy. It seems no one can dissuade you from attending these type of activities. So, you may decide you want to go to meditation groups, you want to go to book clubs, sporting activities, etc. And those things may, you will move mountains to go there. That has clues on what your drive is. If there's anything that you really gravitate, I know that I almost got fired from, out of high school, and I was in a technology program. I almost got fired from working for a telephone company. The reason I got fired is they told me I'm not supposed to call customers, clients, and tell them that my job was to disconnect them. They didn't pay their bills, but I would want to call them and talk to them and say, I'm disconnecting you. And they'd beg me not to do that. And then, they'd beg some time. And then I would go to my boss and say, hey, these guys want some time. And they hated that. They hated that I would connect with clients and warn them that I was going to disconnect them. They would rather me just disconnecting them. And then I don't know how they'd make the phone calls to beg for extra time. But I almost got fired, and I was written up for that. It says, I told you not to do that. But for some reason, I just didn't listen. I didn't care about being fired. My drive was to connect with people. I didn't realize that then, but I'm realizing that now. It was my need to connect with people that I needed, that I did that. It automatically drew me there. The same thing with my acting career. I don't get paid for acting most of the time, anyways. And I can't sing. And as I mentioned to you before, it's a struggle for me to sing at this point in time. Something I'm working on, of course, is my big goal. But anytime something comes up, I push back, and then the director comes and says, "This is the perfect part for you. Don't worry. We'll make sure the songs are not that onerous on you. You can carry a tune. I know I've seen you carry a tune. I won't make it too difficult for you." And they would do that. So when you see yourself naturally gravitate towards a particular area, and that you just look forward to doing that, that's a clue for you as to where your wants, goals, and desire meet your value system together. And that's an important aspect, because your value systems must be in line with your wants, goals, and desires. There's no two ways about that, right? I want to share with you the 3 types of goals now. I kind of alluded to it, but there are 3 types of goals that we set for ourselves. Okay. The first, and this is from a Canadian self-help author. He was featured in The Secret, the movie Secret, if you're aware of that. It's about law of attraction. He's a self-made millionaire, and he does some wonderful work. You can check him out on YouTube. I follow him on YouTube. I invite you to do the same. But he is best known for his contribution to the film The Secret. And in that, he talks about, not in The Secret, but separately from that, he talks about the 3 types of goals. He talks about type A goal is something that you've been there and you've done that. So, for example, a friend of mine opened up a spa, massage and Reiki and all the healing arts and spa, acupuncture and all that. She opened up a spa, and she worked hard and really did well, ended up selling it for a profit. And then she decided she was going to open up another spa about 2 years later. And that's a type A goal. You've been there, done that. Although, for you and I, it may be difficult for us. It might be just a stretch to open up a spa because we've never done that. For her, it wasn't. So a type A goal is you've been there, done that. And it's not very inspirational, because in the end, as she was getting ready to sign and put a down payment, and she had a location picked out, she just stepped back and said, "It's not what I want. This is not a goal that I want, because I've been there, done that. What can I do to elevate this goal?" Right? Type B goal is to take that a little higher. For example, let's say that you want to run a full half marathon. You've run a half marathon last year. Now you're going to say, "I'm going to go for a full marathon." Now, I've never done that before, but I have done a marathon before. And I know the steps to get to a full marathon, to get trained for that, because I've got all these resources. And if all these resources, and I can and manage to set aside time, and I can do this practice, etc., I can do a full marathon. And that's a goal I want. I want to do a full marathon, and I want to do it in Boston. Great. Well, you know that a type B goal says that you haven't done it before. However, you have all the resources that you can tap into that you know are available that will get you that particular goal. And you know you can do it. You just don't have the resources right now. We have to build up to that resources. That's a type B goal. That's not what we want to strive for. We want to go beyond that. We want to go for a type C goal. Type C goal is you have no idea how you will get there. It scares you, at the same time inspires you. So this is the goal that you want to tap into. Because if you can imagine this goal, if you can form a picture of this goal, the universal law is you will materialize it. If you continue to focus on that goal. There's a way to actually bring all of that together, and they use the six higher faculties of the mind to do that. Again, it's a subject of a future deep dive. But just so you know that if you can picture it and imagine it, it's within your grasp to achieve it. Your imagination will indicate to you the level of achievement you can do. Let me give you some examples of type C wants, goals, and desires that have historically been achieved by others. The first human flight by the Wright brothers. People looked at the Wright brothers and says, "You're fool. You cannot. A man or a woman cannot fly. Humans cannot fly." And they didn't listen to any of that. They were inspired. They were just visualized this goal of the flight, first human flight, and they achieved it in 1903. This turn of the century, in the Industrial Revolution there. Okay. First human flight ever. And that was a huge technology boost. You look at 1953, the first two people to summit Mount Everest. Now, you've heard of Sir Edmund Hillary, but you don't really usually hear of the Sherpa who supported Edmund Hillary, and that's Tenzing Norgay. Both of these individuals are the first to summit Mount Everest ever. There were people that died ahead of them. People who were trying this for a decade or more could not achieve the summit, and those that tried failed and lost their lives. That did not dissuade Sir Edmund Hillary. He was going to do this, and he summited the mount, and he was tenacious. He had strong will, and he had belief in himself, and he did it. And now people are summiting Mount Everest all the time. People are flying all the time. It's just that as soon as you break that barrier, it's a mindset barrier. As soon as you break that barrier, people say, it can be achieved. Now, all of a sudden, their imagination goes there. Before, their imagination did not go there because to them, that couldn't have been achieved. That's an impossible thing. But now, people who have summited that, they've realized, okay, that can be achieved. Wow, all right. Just like in my example that I saw Lee on stage and I said, you know what? That is possible. People are doing it. So why can't I? All right. Another example is breaking the 4-minute mile. People before 1954 were striving. They wanted to hit that, under 4 minutes of 1 mile. They would get to that 4 minutes and 2 seconds, 4 minutes and 1 second, 4 minutes and 0.3 seconds. They could not break the 4-minute barrier until somebody did. And Roger Bannister broke the 4-minute mile. He did it under 4 minutes for the first time ever. And when he did that, people realized that can be done. And now that's a usual thing that happens. People break the 4-minute mile all the time. I mean, those who are trained to do that in Olympics and everywhere else. So once somebody pioneers in this area and brings to the fore the capability and human ingenuity and saying this is possible, somebody shines a light and says this is possible, all of a sudden, everybody accepts it as possible. And once you accept it as possible, boom, you're there. That's a type C goal. And of course, 1969, the type C goal that's more recent than all the other ones are when John F. Kennedy says, we're going to send a man to the moon. All of a sudden, NASA was scrambling, saying, what? There was no, scientific basis for us having or no technology available for the United States to send anybody to the moon. I mean, the first flight around the first orbit around the Earth was accomplished by the Sputnik in the Russians. That basically allowed the United States to say, you know what? Wow, okay, so now we're closer to that goal. Their goal of orbiting the Earth, first human in orbit, was superseded now by saying, okay, well, you know what? That's been there, done that. Nobody's achieved the moon. So as soon as he did that, all of the resources were put together. And there was a race between the Soviets and the United States primarily to put a man on the moon, so to speak. So Neil Armstrong was the first one to step off and get on the moon. And then Buzz Aldrin was with him on that particular flight. That's a type C goal. Now, there are people who are like Elon Musk who have a huge Type C goal because NASA sent rover to Mars, and an unmanned spacecraft and exploring the Mars surface and bringing back photographs. Well, Elon Musk said that we're going to take it beyond that because that's already been there, done that. So now he's saying I'm going to colonize Mars, and so he's doing research to colonize Mars, and he is. SpaceX is a private, it's a private NASA type. So when you think about these goals, and I'm not suggesting that you create those goals, but if you were to say I'm gonna colonize Mars, the first thing that's going to come up in your head is saying, I don't have the resources, I don't have the technology, I don't have the know-how, I don't have this, I don't have that, and then we stop there. Elon Musk went through that, but he was so tenacious that whatever resources that he needed just presented itself to him. I wanted to spend a bit more time here today to share with you the power of human imagination and the will to do it. That is yours. Every human being has that. They're not born with a special DNA. They're born, their will and their heart is in this. So what is it that we want to put in our will, in our heart? So now I want you to take a minute and make a list. Without worrying about how you're going to get there, make a list. What is it that you really, really want? I know you made a list before. And have I inspired you to reach for something grander, something that scares you and inspires you at the same time? Because the only thing that may be holding you back is, I know this is a goal I really, really want, but I can't get there, so I'm going to settle for something lower. We do that in relationships, romantic relationships. I'll never find somebody who can make me feel this way, so I'm going to settle for something because it's more secure, because that's something that I think that can be achieved. We do that with many things. So what is it that you really want? What is it that you really want to be, do, or to have? And I want you to make a list. Make a list. Write it down. Take a minute. Make a list. Okay, and then we'll come back on that. How's the list coming? If you want to share, please do, but do make a list. Now, I want you to pick one. Just pick one. What is it that you want more than anything else? That one thing that you want that feels like, yeah, this is scaring me and inspiring me at the same time. So pick one. And now let's magnetize that towards us. Okay, so this is a step. Now we'll go through this process, and then I want you to again practice on the replay. Right now that you have your want or desire or goal, write it down in a sentence and use the terms that I've shared with you here. I am so grateful now that my whatever want is or desire or goal is has manifested. Say it in whatever words you want, but make sure they're done in a present tense. I've just now achieved this. This is where you magnetize it. Now write it down on a piece of paper or in a journal, of course, and repeat until you can write it down smoothly from memory. So you'll write it down, and then next time you write it down, you'll have to look up and say, well, what are my exact words? And then once you write it down until it flows into your memory. There's no hesitation. It flows. And you smoothly from memory. Once you do that, you repeat that above daily and write it down as much as you can so that it flows and smooths. And then basically you're now programming your conscious mind, which will then influence your subconscious mind. Okay. And then when you do that, your subconscious mind is your emotional body. We'll talk about that in a future webinar. And that emotional body will then be reprogrammed such that you will now open up opportunities and attract them to you. Okay. So here are some examples. I am so grateful now that money flows to me in increasing quantities. If that's your big goal. I'm so grateful now that I have been approved for the program. If you want to, go into a program or study a level of studies. I'm so grateful now that I've paid off all my loans. Maybe you're in debt and you want to pay off all your loans. I'm so grateful now, whatever that is. So use the words, I'm so grateful now, and then write down what your goal is in the present tense as if you've achieved it. Okay. So, so take a minute to do that. And then we're going to use that to magnetize it. So have a clear goal, have a clear sentence, and take about a minute to do that. And then we're going to activate and magnetize it and bring it into our hearts. Okay. So let's do that for about a minute. Okay. I assume you've written something wonderful down. Once you've written this down, just check in with yourself. How do you feel after clarifying this wants, goals, and desires? Do you feel a relief that you've got something, that you've locked it down? And are you inspired now to do everything you can to bring it to you? Are you inspired to really sharpen everything and bring everything in focus so that you can actually shed things that do no longer serve achieving that goal and put that energy towards achieving that goal? Because that is part of our reach for the stars. Let us now access the field of potentials. I'm going to take you through a guided meditation. So what I'd like you to do is, if you've written it down, glance at it, because I'm going to ask you to state your wants, goals, and desires. The one that you've picked and the way you've stated it, I'm so grateful now that, and whatever that present tense is, we're going to now magnetize it and allow our emotional body, our subconscious mind, to integrate that. So it's such that whenever that goal, when you imagine that goal in your conscious mind, that your subconscious mind is now aligned and it does not push back and say you cannot achieve this, right? It's a much more powerful way to do this. So now I want you to place your awareness in the area of the heart. The heart is where all the emotional center is. That's where the subconscious mind is. Place your awareness in the area of the heart. And now take slow, deep breaths. And just imagine these breaths flowing in and out of your heart, just very gently, very slowly, very deeply. Let's balance our autonomic nervous system, balance our biology to set up that field. Slow, deep, gentle breaths, and experiencing them flowing in and out of your heart, breathing a little slower, a little gentler than you normally would. Take a few breaths in this way. Now put a gentle smile on your face, and in your mind, state your want in the present state, in the present tense. I'm grateful now that I have, and state it. And as you state it, move that conversation from your head into your heart and imagine your heart is saying, I'm so grateful now that, and then you state it. And now engage your heart's emotion. Live in this field of potentials and just visualize this materializing for you. I'm so happy and grateful now. And as you state your wants, engage in a three-dimensional view of you living that right now. What does it look like? What do you see around you? You've achieved this goal. You feel like this is what you were meant to do. This is who you were meant to be. Anything less than this was not acceptable. This is great. This is wonderful. And you're inspired to reach for more, and you're just elated. What does it feel like? What are your emotions? Are you hearing sounds? What sounds are you hearing in this particular achievement of yours? What are you smelling? Is there anything that you're touching, feeling? Apply all five senses in this imagination and really stand in the middle of your achievement right now. You are there. What does it look like? What does it feel like? What does it taste and smell like? What do you hear? Can you experience a more deeper, more intense emotion? Can you really feel the joy in your heart? Are you there now? Bring it into your heart. Bring it into your heart. Feel it in all its glory. And now radiate this amazing experience from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet. And then radiate it outward in all direction, like a bubble emanating from your heart, surrounding you and then expanding beyond you. It's almost like a call, a lighthouse to all like-minded vibrations to be attracted and magnetized in your direction. Experience that. Visualize, imagine this bubble expanding beyond you. Sit with that expansion as far as you can imagine it going. You don't have to direct it. Just allow it to go wherever it needs to go. And now set the intention that everything that serves you in meeting this goal be drawn to you, and that your body gives you signals, inspiration to move in that direction, and the courage. Continue your deep breaths, experiencing them flowing in and out of your heart, breathing a little slower, a little gentler than you normally would. Beautiful. Now gently open your eyes if you had them closed. Happy to see some reflection if you have any comments, questions, or type them into the comment box after if you're seeing this on a replay. Now, once you've done this, I would like you to, in your journal, write down 3 to 5 steps that you can take now towards realizing your chosen wants, goals, or desires. What is the first step? In many cases, if it, in my case, it was do more research, right? So, if my goal is I want to move to Portugal, for example, okay, my first research is, well, how do I get visa? What do I need to do? All of those things. It's the first step you take. So, in many cases, the first step. Sometimes it's just maybe putting a down payment down somewhere. Maybe that's your first step because you've done your research. So whatever that this first set of goals are, first set of items are, do this because as you move forward, with your conscious mind, your subconscious mind will support and do that. And then this magnetizing program that we did, the guided practice will then enhance that and attract this to you. All right. So do that, charting a path to the stars. Now, this is what I mentioned to you earlier. Okay. Goals are dynamic. Don't be surprised if you're inspired to change your desired want, needs, or goal to one that is better, one that is loftier. I did that. I mean, I wrote down my goals, and then 2 days later, as I did the practice, when I wrote it down, I'm so grateful now that I have blah blah blah. As soon as I started doing that, if I had a number in there, for example, I'm so grateful now that I have, 50 of these things. All of a sudden, when I was writing down smoothly, the number 100 came up. And so it was like within days, that number just flowed through. And number 5,000 came up, and that just flowed right through. And my conscious mind started pushing back on that. So you'll see that struggle and the dynamism happening in your body, but settle in on the higher and the loftier one that scares you. Okay. So don't be surprised if you're inspired to change your goals. There's nothing wrong with that. Your goals are not fixed, they're dynamic. So you have not failed and you're not settling down. As long as you're not settling down and you're going to that loftier goal, don't be surprised. You may want to repeat this process again. Your type C goal may not be type C anymore. It may be type B, So you want to write the goal in the present tense. You want to make sure that it's in the present tense. Otherwise, you're always yearning for something. Okay. And then you will modify your steps as you move towards that goal. You'll realize, oh, I need more steps here, or I don't need to do all of these things because something just showed up for me. All of those things are dynamic and normal. They're not fixed in stone, and they could change an hour after you set those things. Okay. So don't be surprised if energy is moving, shifts are happening, that you will automatically be doing that. Right. So that's it. Thank you so much for participating. I hope I've given you enough tools to consider moving forward, setting the goals. If you haven't clarified the goals, clarify them now. If you have clarified them, then certainly, what's your next level? You will never become stagnant. If you're always doing something different each year, then you're on the right track. So I wish you all the best in your endeavors. And in future, we will be talking more about creating the limiting beliefs, overcoming them, identifying them. We'll be doing a lot more work with the 6 higher faculties of the mind, how we want to manage and tackle those, and how we can bring everything together and really fossilize those goals. But the first step is actually envisioning them, just like we have right now. All right. So if there are no questions here on the live program, that is, I will say thank you so much for joining me. Replay will be put up very quickly here, so you can access the replay again. Again, thank you so much for joining me, and we will connect with you on next month on a deep dive webinar. Take care for now.